So there are cracks and fissures and breaks in human relationships, even the most intimate ones, whether that's husband and wife, brother and brother, father and son, or master and slave, something else Paul talks about in Corinthians. In order for his sort of perfect version of the world to stay intact, a slave has to be loyal to his master, and a master has to treat the slave right. Well, that really doesn't happen with the Dromios in this play. They are continuously beaten. They remark upon their beatings. And if pushed to a certain extent, the slapstick of this, you move from the Three Stooges, in other words, into something much more uncomfortable. That is, the Dromios are hurt badly. They're sort of physically abused. Um, but what I want to suggest is that these, again, that the beating of the Dromios is just another one of those marks, and they refer to the marks left on their body, that we live in this world that is divided. We're living in a world where we see each other through a glass darkly. We don't yet live as one. Shakespeare points us actually towards these cracks or fissures in human relationships at the very start of the play. And, I moved through, Act 1 and Act 2 first, but I want to go back now to the very first long speech. And it's a long soliloquy by Egeon, and you might get lost here. And this, in fact, audiences can get very bored, but Egeon tells us a lot. He tells us his whole story. He's in this strange position. He's a Syracusan, and he's stuck in Ephesus, and the treaty is between these two countries that we'll stop fighting, but if one of you guys comes over here and you get caught, you'll be executed. This is the way they manage their war. But at some point, Aegean tells the Duke of Ephesus his story as he's pleading for sympathy. And pick up, this is Act 1, Scene 1, where he says, in Syracuse was I born, Act 1, Scene 1, line 36. And went unto a woman happy but for me and by me. Had not our hap been bad, with her I lived in joy. Our wealth increased by prosperous voyages. I often made to Epidamnum, another famous city, this one in present-day Albania, till my factor's death and the great care of goods at random left drew me from my kind embracements of my spouse. In short, he's a businessman, and he's got a business manager, and things are going well at home, but then his top salesman dies. And he's got to go take care of his work himself. And this is after starting a new marriage. So this is a major shift in the relationship. This change drew me from my kind embracements of my spouse, from whom my absence was not 6 months old, before herself, almost fainting under the pleasing punishment that women bear, had made provision for her following me, and soon and safe arrived where I was. All of a sudden, she's lonely. She decides, I'm going to follow you to work. Now, Aegeon is not necessarily happy about that. There had she not been long, but she became a joyful mother of 2 goodly sons, the twins, and which was strange, the one so like the other as could not be distinguished but by names. That very hour, coincidentally, and in the selfsame inn, a mean woman, someone of lesser social class, was delivered of such a burden, male twins both alike, though for their parents were exceeding poor, I bought and brought up to attend my sons. In short, this coincidence of twins being born turns into an advantage for Eugene and his wife because they can buy their twin boys servants. My wife, not meanly proud of 2 such boys, made daily motions for our home return. In short, she wanted to go home and show the boys to grandma and the aunts and all the neighbors, as any new mom does. But this is complicated, of course, because Aegeon is at work. He needs to be where he is to sell. And this is one of those everyday banal breaks or rifts in a relationship that we're all familiar with. It's not terribly dramatic. This isn't a dramatic infidelity. It's not some great divide between the two, but it's a little rift that all human relationships have. He says, and this is notable, Shakespeare again really doesn't make deliberate mistakes. He says, unwilling, I agreed. Unwilling. I didn't want to have to go. It interrupted work. Alas, too soon we came aboard. This is after the fact, by the way. This is years after he's lost his wife and his son in marriage. Sorry, not in marriage, but in the shipwreck. what about this? This little speech, I think, turns much more interesting. And we're going to keep going and take a closer look at it.